The mad EV mandates are hammering the final nails into the coffin of the European auto manufacturing industry. As I said in my last video on the rationing of petrol cars and diesel cars in the UK to meet EV sales targets, the Chinese were hopeless at making internal combustion engine cars, but unfortunately they've turned out to be rather good at churning out cheap and nasty electric cars, which are precisely the kind of thing that the Europeans are determined to flood the market with to meet their insane net zero targets. But what they didn't realise is that the local auto manufacturers would go to the wall quite as quickly as they are doing, with Volkswagen saying they may just have 1 or 2 years to turn the ship around. In fact, most of these manufacturers are running around like headless chickens right now, many in completely opposite directions, trying to work out what the hell they should be doing. Just more reasons why you should buy a decent used petrol car and maintain it and keep it for as long as possible. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Be sure to follow me on the usual socials for more content, links in the description, and please make sure you're subscribed and have enabled all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. Just as Jaguar announces it's abandoning all of its combustion car lineup to go all electric next year, Volvo and Volkswagen are doing the exact opposite. This is the utter confusion that reigns within the automotive industry in Europe, with some manufacturers still diving headlong into the abyss of all electric and others suffering from massive cold feet and rushing back into petrol and hybrids. All of this is thanks, of course, to governments sticking their beaks into a complex market and putting their thumb on the scales. And the only winner out of all of this chaos will be China. Hold your noses, everyone, but this is from the Guardian. I'll leave a link to the archived version in the description so at least they don't get any ad revenue from any clicks. Volkswagen has a year or maybe 2 to turn around, financial chief warns. Carmaker defends plan to close German plants as Volvo ditches target to sell only electric cars by 2030. Volkswagen says it has a year, maybe 2, to adapt to a slump in European car sales, as it seeks to justify proposals to close factories in Germany for the first time in its history. Separately, the Swedish automaker Volvo said it had ditched a target to sell only electric cars by 2030, opting instead to continue selling some petrol vehicles alongside battery models. European car makers are under pressure as they try to fund the switch from petrol and diesel to battery models. That ambition has come up against inconsistent demand as well as increasing competition from China. Volkswagen told workers during a meeting at its Wolfsburg headquarters on Wednesday that it expected to sell 500,000 fewer vehicles than before the COVID pandemic, the equivalent of around 2 plants, and predicted sales would not return to levels seen in 2019. Oliver Blume, Volkswagen Group's chief executive, said he felt emotional about the decision to close the factories to save billions of euros in costs. The automotive industry has changed massively in the volume segment in just a few years. Together we will implement appropriate measures to become more profitable. We are leading VW back to where the brand belongs. That is the responsibility of all of us, he said. What a disaster. But slaying the imaginary bogeyman of climate change overrides everything else, including the very future of an entire industry sector, it seems. By the way, I'm not sure why we think we can change the climate when we don't even consider trying to stop volcanoes or earthquakes. They happen and humanity adapts. And trying to stop the climate changing is as ridiculous as trying to stop Mount St. Helens from erupting. Yeah, good luck with that one. And then we have Volvo, also in der Scheiße ohne Paddel, as the Germans would say. Volvo said on Wednesday it would aim for more than 90% of its global sales to be electrified by 2030, a definition that includes fully electric cars as well as plug-in hybrids that combine a smaller battery with a polluting petrol engine. This is The Guardian after all. It said this would mean higher carbon emissions for each car. A planned drop of 75% in emissions compared with 2018 would instead become 65%. "We are resolute in our belief that our future is electric," said Jim Rowan, the chief executive of Volvo Cars. "An electric car provides a superior driving experience and increases possibilities for using advanced technologies that improve the overall customer experience. However, it is clear that the transition to electrification will not be linear, and customers and markets are moving at different speeds of adoption. We are pragmatic and flexible while retaining an industry-leading position on electrification and sustainability." If you strip away all the flannel in that, they've got cold feet on electrification and they're hedging their bets. Of course they are. There's no demand for EVs because nobody wants them. So let's continue building cars people actually want. Wow, how revolutionary. But this is the result of top-down edicts by governments driven by ideological crusades, which interfere with a functioning market and end up causing absolute pandemonium in the industry sector. I really don't see how the European auto industry can survive this assault on their market without a massive shift in policy. Unfortunately, such a shift in policy just isn't going to happen. So, regrettably, in 10 years' time, we'll all be driving crappy Chinese EVs, and the European automotive industry will just be a distant memory.